Hey, listen, it is what it is, right? We thought of every scenario possible. Not this one.
I know.
Yeah.
It's me, I know.
What up, bro? No, that doesn't work.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Welcome to Styledent Talks, a show for the dental community, bringing dental professionals together with authentic conversations about our industry. Whether you're just starting or want to reach the next level, this show is for you. Join us as we talk about real-life struggles we all face in our business and the challenges we go through when it comes to teamwork, products, techniques, and technology.
Hi, welcome to Styledent Talks. My name is Dimitri Tsichlis,
I'm Lydia Croteau.
and we're both the owners of Styledent Dental Lab, with 2 locations, one in Winter Park, Orlando, Florida, and one in Quebec, Canada. This month's guest is Dr. Sundeep Rawal, a very well-known prosthodontist in the area. Lydia, would you like to read his bio, please?
Yes, Dr. Sundeep Rawal is Senior Vice President, Implant Support Services for Aspen Dental since last November. He's very well known in Central Florida for his multi-doctor, multi-location practice. He graduated from University of Florida College of Dentistry in 2006 and completed his training in prosthodontics at the University of California, San Francisco in 2009. He has lectured across the USA internationally with over 500 plus engagements, and he published numerous papers. He's also the co-founder of DDI, Digital Dentistry Institute, a leading contemporary education entity with courses all over the world dedicated to innovations and technology in dentistry. If you want to read his full bio, it will be in the show notes at styledent.com/talks.
So this is an exciting episode coming up. It was recorded during the confinement. We were back in Montreal, so you'll see a difference in both our hair. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Enjoy
much.
the show.
Sundeep, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. How are things up in Canada?
Things are okay. It's getting a little bit warmer. The cases are, stabilizing, not necessarily going down yet, but stabilizing. Still in confinement, but overall things are okay.
But
Things are good.
still having fun.
Yeah. Been busy. Been busy. No other choice, right?
Yeah, no. Listen, I hear you. We're like I was saying when we first were doing our hellos. We're open in Florida now, and it's interesting. It's kind of a new world, untested, unproven, unknown world that we're living in right now, which it's interesting to say the least, but it's certainly better than being locked down. So
Absolutely.
hopefully you guys get there quickly.
Yes, thank you. We hope so too.
How do you find the patients are dealing with this? Are they coming in scared? Are they coming in with
No, actually,
what
it's
is-
interesting. I was talking to a couple of friends yesterday about this, and surprisingly, patients seem to be okay. The reality is, I think we've set up some pretty, I would consider, if you look at all the literature and supporting stuff that's out there, pretty relatively standard protocols for the current environment, meaning, we're triaging patients outside in the parking lot. We're taking temperature checks. We're having them do their screenings outside. They're not entering the building until, after they do all of that, they go straight from the front door to their operatory. There's no more waiting in the waiting room. And, all of these things combined, I think the patients feel we are doing everything we can to, make sure that their safety is paramount, and it's on full display. I mean, imagine going to a dental office, especially, our practice has been one that is obviously done a lot in terms of going above and beyond to create exceptional experiences for patients. We deal with, obviously, being a prosthodontic practice, being, a heavy implant practice. We deal with a lot of discretionary income from patients. And so you have to service them and exceed their expectations. And so, you've got this very welcome opening model where you go above and beyond. and all of a sudden, the door is locked. There's a sign outside that says, "Do not come in." It's just a different world. And so I think that patients, they realize that we've got their best interests at heart, and they've been, I think they've been, very understanding of the situation so far. Very positive, to be honest.
Well, that's good. That's good. I just hope it's going to be like this, for the most part.
Yeah, we were expecting some different reactions post COVID-19. Like one was an economic blockage. The other one was like a fear blockage, fear of catching the virus, going to the dentist. And then another one was like, if not now, then when? Let's
I have one life to live. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I think all of those kind of perspectives are pervading, our societies today. Look, economically, I think we've been blessed. The economy is starting to open back up. People are going back to work. Stock market is, within, it's less than 10% away from its highs. So, from where we were just 30 days ago, it's a lot different economic picture. A big part of that is the government, stepping in and the programs that they've created. I'm sure in Canada, they have similar programs to what they've done here in the States that have helped businesses get through this, help people, maintain their financial outlook during this time. And it's not, don't get me wrong, it's not, all peaches and sunshine and roses. It's not tough.
There's a lot of people that are suffering and that will suffer, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it is, I think, it has been up until this point manageable. The big question is, at least from an economic standpoint, is what does the next 3 months look like, right? What do the next 6 months look like? Are people going to feel comfortable? I don't know necessarily so much dental care. Like, we deal with discretionary dollars for sure, but there are obviously the needs that we have to talk about with patients that they're going to say yes to treatments. There's the fundamental issues that we're trying to heal them from a therapeutic standpoint. But I think we'll be okay in dentistry. It just is going to take some time. I think the biggest problem for us isn't, patients saying yes, it's our own kind of limitation of trying to keep patient flow a certain level, make sure that we're not operating with, a lot of people in the offices. I'm used to seeing, 4 columns plus hygiene in a busy practice. And, you do that plus, 8 to 10 staff in any of the offices at any given time. You're talking about 20 people in the office, 25 people in the office in one shot. And, currently we're not doing that. Currently we're trying to keep around that, 10 to, no more than, 10 to 12 people. So that limits your productivity. And the real question for us, I think, in dentistry is, what does that look like in 3 months? Are we still on this kind of, rate limiting scheduling to keep head counts down, keep patient flow, what we consider to be at this point an appropriate level? And that might change. We may come out in 30 days or 60 days and say, hey, that really doesn't impact us much. You can go back to your kind of normal operational capacity. I don't know, in 3-6 months, we may be in the same spot, which is going to limit productivity for especially, very busy, productive practices. But I think economically, for other businesses such as retail, such as restaurants, hospitality, when does that come back? That's really going to be the big question over the next 3 to 6 months. And the economy will.
Oh yeah, and there's businesses, we don't even think about that that are affected. Like, think about the little shop that's renting out tuxedos.
Yeah.
What are they going to rent out?
Yeah, business model dried up in a heartbeat, right? Yeah.
So it's unfortunately the situation for many.
Yeah.
So Sandeep, let me ask you, you've been involved with education since very early on, since we know you, and even before. You've been a speaker for Nobel. You started DDI, Digital Dentistry Institute. How do you think things are going to go from here on with the educational side?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic, because the reality is, in the last 60 days, dental education has just changed dramatically. today you can get on almost any hour of the day and find online webinars about any topic from a variety of different um, people or providers in any part of the world. And it wasn't like that 60 days ago.
Yeah.
And on top of all of that, it's for the most part, most of it's inexpensive, if not free.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, you think
Free, yeah.
about you think about where we are with dental education currently. Um, we may not ever go back to the brick and mortar days of continuing education where, you know, people consumed their information in that fashion. And look, don't get me wrong, we've had the internet a long time. We've had wonderful dental education online for the better part of, you know, 10 or 15 years now. But there was still a lot of dental education that was done in person, because that paradigm that we had, that for us to disseminate knowledge effectively, really required that, you know, human to human interaction. And I think the last, you know, 30, 60 days has challenged that. And probably would have gotten there in 5 or 7 years anyways, but we're getting there. We're kind of forced to get there now a lot sooner. You know, is there going to be a place for quote unquote in-person dental education? Absolutely. There's certain things you can't teach on the web.
Well, like hands-on, right? I mean,
yeah,
hands-on.
Hands-on,
For now.
absolutely hands-on, procedural, live patient. When you want to get into, you know, actually performing and operating, you know, in the mouth. I think anything that needs a real valid assessment, if you're doing something like accreditation, things of that nature, you're going to need to have, you know, in-person experiences for sure. But, you know, that's going to be, you know, limited. Whereas you may have taken, let's just call it an online, a year-long implant residency. Okay, let's call it. And in that curriculum, you probably would have gone once a month to a center. You would have taken all these courses that had didactic, hands-on components, live patient component, placed implants, what have you. And, you know, probably 15 live in-person events in that residency program. I think moving forward, you're going to see instead, you're going to see that same type of curriculum where, you know, 12 of those 15 sessions will be spread out online, and 3 of those sessions will be in person, right?
So is that where DDI is heading right now? I mean, you guys are full-blown webinar.
Yeah. We've had to, you know, switch our business model a little bit, because, you know, we were very proud of the fact that we had a unique model in the industry of taking continuing education to our users, our members, because, you know, we realized a long time ago, years ago, really, that, you know, convenience is part of this experience, and being able to conveniently take that education has been something that is challenging for a lot of dentists, right? You know, if you want to take a 3-day course, it's not really a 3-day course. You've got to stop your office. You got to fly somewhere. You got to be there the day before. You got to come back the day after. You lose a whole week. It's production.
You got to take a day at least for vacation also in
right. All right. So it's a barrier. It's a barrier to doing it. So we recognize that early on in our endeavor, and we, you know, created a model where we took education globally to convenient locations where, you know, we've got you know, programs, you know, as of last year, we had programs in 9 countries in about 20 something cities around the world.
Awesome,
yeah, you guys did a lot of traveling last year.
Yeah, we did a lot of traveling last year. And then this has now forced us to kind of revisit that and say, okay, how can we get even more convenient and do it in a, you know, post-COVID world? And so we're in the process of transitioning to, you know, a totally online curriculum where we will have the ability to, you know, look at some of the challenges with things like hands-on. How do we get that, you know, how do we get that experience in people's hands without them traveling? You know, we're creating models that allow us to do those things. On top of that, you know, we'll also then, you know, follow a similar kind of protocol to what I mentioned. Instead of taking a you know, 4 or 5 in-person courses leading up to you taking a live patient placement course in one of our programs. You'll do 4 or 5 web-based at-home learning type scenarios leading up to that same one in-person event. So it's going to change the model of continuing education for DDI for sure. But it also is, someplace we would have ended up anyways, because, if our paradigm is to make it as convenient with the least amount of barriers to education as possible, being online, on demand, anywhere globally, that there's an internet connection, the natural progression. It's
a game changer.
It's just evolving. It's evolving faster than we thought. Really where we're at.
Yeah, for us too. We had to switch all our content of our live conferences.
And it's been better, honestly. It's been so much better.
Been forced to just make that switch easier, and being able to reach so many more people that maybe could not attend our live events before.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
We're all busy nowadays.
There's no doubt you get exposure, but there'll be challenges in of that self, because obviously now you're really competing against the internet, against YouTube, against the
biggest challenge, Sundeep, is looking at a camera and trying to be charismatic. That is the biggest challenge. I'm telling you.
You obviously do it better than I do, Dimitri.
You're looking at a camera and you're telling jokes, and you don't know, is it a good one? Is it not a good one?
You can't feel the crowd. I know. They're tough crowds they are. But the challenge it presents its own unique challenges, because now you're really competing against YouTube, against Instagram, against Facebook. How do you differentiate yourself in that marketplace where there's actually economic value, right? If it's free on YouTube, it's hard to compete with watching something on YouTube with watching something on the internet, right? It's very similar. So, we have to look at, how do we add value? How do we create something that's worthwhile? And it's something that dentists want to invest in.
Yeah. Sundeep, what's your favorite thing about your job? You wear multiple.
I wear a lot of hats.
What got you into this?
Oh man, I will tell you. I think my favorite thing about my job, honestly, is I didn't know going into dentistry that dentistry could offer so much. The industry of dentistry could offer so much. You go into dentistry and you really, you have this perception you're going to have your office, you're going to work, you're going to be in your own little kingdom, whether it's, a setting that's, a single solo provider, whether it's a large group practice, whether it's something like a dental service organization, you have this mentality. I go to my office, I do dentistry, and that's my world, that's my career. And I've been very fortunate and blessed that I've got to see the rest of dentistry, the industry of dentistry, which is just, expanded the experiences I've had so much. Like the best part of my career and what I love the most is that it's so dynamic. Being able to do something like this, talking to you guys in Canada while I'm in Florida, traveling somewhere and surrounding myself with the best and brightest minds in dentistry, talking about innovation and, learning new concepts, new techniques, new technologies, being able to educate and not only interact, but help better, thousands of dentists a year. It has been so incredibly rewarding, because I never thought going into dentistry that that's what it would be about. It's been, it's like, saying you're going to play basketball your whole life and thinking you're going to be on a court with a row of chairs and 5 people watching you. And then you walk in and it's a, 20,000 person stadium. There's like so much potential and so much to experience. Like it just doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. Every day is something new. Every day is something different. And I think it's partly because dentistry itself is changing so fast. It's evolving so quickly because of technological innovation, because of the new concepts and protocols, and the way we treat patients has changed so much in the last 10 years. I always tell people I liken it to living when dental implants were invented. right? Think about being a dentist for 20 years. You're going and you've got, the scope of practice, and all of a sudden dental implants come along and open an entire world of dentistry. You think about everything in dentistry that is related to dental implants, right? And you guys know that very well. You guys are obviously very savvy in implantology, especially from the technical side of things. And think about 30 years ago when we didn't have implants. Like, how much of your energy in your profession wouldn't even exist?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
and
true.
so that kind of concept, what happened in dentistry 30, 40 years ago, that's happening now with technology, right? It's happening now. And if you look at just, your case in particular, look at what the dental technical laboratory world looks like today compared to what it looked like 10, 15 years ago.
That's
Right?
great.
You go into a lab today, and as you guys are aware, there's more computer screens than there are hands.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you look back 20 years ago, and there's going to be more bodies and benches for technicians than there was a computer.
Lots of wax.
Right? And so dentistry itself has been changing so much so quickly that the entire profession is dynamic. And for me, that's the best part of the job, because like, I can't imagine living in my world, my kingdom of some sort of office setting, not knowing that all this was going on in the industry, right? And so it's been fun to be able, and very lucky to be able to experience it kind of in real time as it's happening.
Yeah, dynamic is a good word.
Oh, it's great. Every day is different.
It's perfectly expressed, honestly. Dynamic is truly the way to put it.
Yeah.
Tell us, Sandeep, you still have your private practice. You started in a private practice, and recently you made a big move. Working.
I did. Yep, I did, and it's been great. Education has been a really important part of my career. Just stumbled into it when I was in residency, and found a real passion for being able to educate others in the profession. I think when you're in dental education, you're forced to be a better clinician, because you've got to talk about it, you've got to show it, you've got to explain it, you've got to know what you're doing, you've got to be able to document what you're doing, you've got to be able to troubleshoot what you're doing, make sure that things are going well, and that they're totally it makes you better, right? And then on top of that, when you're in dental education, you are surrounded by the very best people, and I mean it, the best and brightest minds in dentistry. People like yourselves, people like the people that attend a course. 90% of dentists don't attend courses. 90% of the technicians don't attend courses. They don't go to better themselves. They check the boxes to get their CE. They go on a cruise where they're going to spend 30 minutes listening to somebody.
Actually do go, Sandeep. They go, but they go, as you said, they go for the credits, they go for the cruise. They don't go to really better themselves.
Absolutely. And so the people that do show up to better themselves, the people that I get to interact with, they're the best of the best. They care. And I have been enriched by the relationships, by the contacts I've made, the friendships, the families that I've been, blessed to be close to. I can't imagine not having that today. And that's all through dental education. And so education has become a very big part of my career. And then, luckily last year, at the end of the year, I was able to get this opportunity to, make education an even more involved part of my career. And that's currently what I'm doing, juggling both at the current time. Little challenging in a COVID world, but it's still, it's still something that I think it's very rewarding. So I'm very.
What are the major differences that you see between the two worlds?
Like the private practice?
The full world.
Great question. Private practice has its own challenges. For me, the challenges of private practice is not the dentistry. Like education, you're focused on the dentistry. You're focused on, how do I make myself better, or how do I learn something, or how do I, adopt a technology, train my staff? How do I do things that allow me to actually do dentistry better? Private practice world, it's not really about the dentistry. Like, the dentistry and, you take the time. That's okay. You take the time to learn and everything. In the dentistry is sometimes the easy part. It's the HR. It's the staff issues. It's the, business cycle. It's dealing with unforeseen circumstances that come out of nowhere that you really weren't ever even thinking were on your radar. And all of a sudden you're living in through that, like a certain situation that we're in right now. Those are the challenges in private practice. And
you enjoy though the business side?
Oh, I love the business side. I'm actually a better educator because of private practice, because when I talk to dentists or educate dentists, it comes from a place of, hey, I'm going to teach you something that's practical, that you can easily apply, that you can adopt, your teams can adopt, and guess what? It's going to bring you value, whether that's time savings, cost savings, better outcomes. You're going to treat your patients in a more productive way. Because I'm in private practice. So if it's useless to me in private practice, it doesn't matter how great the pictures look. It doesn't matter how beautiful the smile looks. If it's unrealistic and impractical to do, why am I educating? Like, what's the point of me going and teaching you something if you're going to go, like, that's the worst critique of an educational experience in dentistry. The worst critique isn't the speaker wasn't great, the photo quality wasn't good, I didn't really like the subject matter, I don't agree with the guy philosophically. The worst critique in dental education is, that was fabulous, but I know I'll never do it.
You're right. You're right.
When you hear that, and you hear that often,
I agree 100%.
You hear that, right? Well, what was the point? Like, why? What was the last hour or half day or full day of my life for if I'm coming out of it, like, I'm never going to use it?
Exactly.
Right. And so being in private practice has allowed me to focus my energy and education on things that truly are practical. Like, I never tried to say anything or teach anything that you couldn't go and start to implement on Monday morning. Now, you may not be a master of it on Monday morning, but you can get on the road, you can get down that journey, and ultimately you can see the benefits to your patient care.
Oh yeah, that's the point. That's the difference between actual education or showing off, because a lot of people that give these conferences that are great and beautiful and everything is perfect, but you cannot apply it, it's not really education, unfortunately.
Exactly. I mean, then you have to ask yourself, what's the point? Like,
it's inspiring. Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong, but
I like to be
it's
practical.
good to be also practical. And yeah, absolutely. There's no,
yeah, but Lydia, to your comment, inspiring or being aspirational is fine, but you have to be able to get there. Otherwise, it's not. That's daydreaming.
Inspiring for more than an hour.
That's not inspiring. It's a dream. If there's no path for you to get there, there's nothing to aspire to, right? And so it's not to say that we shouldn't educate at what the possibilities are, but they got to be practical possibilities. I mean, that's like saying, in the old days, like, you think about all-on-4, right? You think about the concept of tilting implants and doing a graftless solution to get a fully implant-supported restoration and all the benefits that we have with all-on-4. The biggest reason all-on-4 has taken off in the last 15 years, okay, is not because we're tilting implants. We were tilting implants 25 years ago, okay? Mm-hmm. It's not because of immediate load. We were doing that 25 years ago. The biggest reason that we have had all-on-4 take off is because of CAD/CAM. Because 20 years ago, we could do all this stuff, but because we were casting frameworks or casting PFM on implants with stacking porcelain by hand, that arch was like, $50,000, $60,000. You're talking $100,000 mouth. How many people can do a $100,000 mouth? How many patients can afford it, right? I mean, how many clinicians could afford to spend $20,000, $25,000 in a lab bill, right? By the time you do all the steps and the gold and everything else. What brought it available to all of us to offer our patients to make it affordable for them was CAD/CAM, milling titanium, milling zirconia. That changed the nature of what we could do. We could accomplish all of this tangible value to patient care, but do it in a way that was affordable. And that made it practical, right? It made it something that, made a lot of sense. There was a lot of value in that. And it was something that could be applied across a great, swath of our populations. And so, when I think about it, that practicality piece has to be there, right? And so it can't just be so esoteric that you may do one or two of these cases in your lifetime. Like, what's the point of that? It's got to be stuff that, you can apply that really bring benefit and value to what you do on a daily basis. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah. Now, I was just thinking about these courses that us dental technicians go and follow, for example, and they show like beautiful porcelain work, this beautiful ceramist is there showing his beautiful picture, and it's inspiring. You're like, one day, we'll even
but it's not
up our standards, and this is beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah. But the whole point is you can always show that in the presentation. It's not about showing it or not showing it. It's about showing it and truly explaining the concepts behind it. Yeah. Not just showing it and saying, well, you can get there, and then leaving it open to,
that's very,
you know what I mean? Unfortunately, that happens. It's about having it there and actually explaining basic, concepts about playing with contrasts, doesn't matter what recipe you're using. It's not about recipes. It's about contrasts. It's about, opacities and translucencies. It's about surface texture that also affects the actual shape of the tooth, and a lot of basic concepts that are not in these
what I get excited about is I think that from a lot of what we do, not everything, but a lot of what we do, I think technology is helping bridge that gap, right? Technology is making it so that we can get to a certain level automated, right, through automation, and then that fine finishing, that extra 10-15% of artisticness can come through. So
where shapes are concerned,
it's funny you're saying this. Just not too long ago, pre-COVID, just pre-COVID, I was working on a full upper arch case, and I actually made the comment where I was like, thank God we have technology, because I remember the days where we had to actually do all of this by hand. Yeah. And now we're doing 20-30% of it.
Sure. And I think
it totally makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at, and that's why dentistry is changing so much, is because technology is innovating, allowing us to automate a lot of these labor-intensive, very variable experiences, whether it's an experience in diagnosis, whether it's an experience in surgery, whether it's an experience in manufacturing, in the definitive phase. These experiences were very variable because it was all done by hand, right? Mm-hmm. And so, technology is allowing us to get more predictability in those workflows, in those protocols and outcomes. And that allows us to, do things like streamline, treatment, to be able to be more productive with our time, to save cost, to save effort, energy, pass that on to the patient, which makes it more affordable. And then that obviously allows us to treat more patients better.
And it allows us to be more artistic because we don't have to deal with the steps that, weren't so much fun. I mean, nobody has, some people love polishing metals.
Yeah.
But, it's
look, you think about it. It's funny, actually, you said that. I was just thinking about, I think yesterday, the day before, because we were in this COVID thing. I had a couple of patients that came in, and they needed a reline on their maxillary prosthesis, and I was just thinking about, I could just do this myself. Like, at the end of the day, I could just do this myself, because why am I sending it to the lab, right? This coronavirus is going on, and I just do it myself. And then I got thinking, man, that's a lot of work to do for what does the lab charge for a reline? Like $100, right? Something like that. Like, that's a lot of work to do to make.
It is a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of manual work to do. And then it got me thinking, because, now I live in, digital world. We do digital dentures, and, whether it's, milled, CAD/CAM milled dentures, whether it's printed dentures. And the reality is, like, man, I could just hit send and get another one. Like, I don't even do the reline. Like, do a wash, scan it, and make a whole new prosthesis. And so it's just changing so fast, mm-hmm. so quick. Whereas, like, that was a very labor-intensive procedure. But now, because of technology and automation, we've gotten to the point where we may never reline a prosthesis again, because it may just be easier, less cost, and less time to make a whole new one.
Why, Sundeep, in digital dentures, what's the point of a bite block anymore? You just do a digital try-in.
Sure.
Straight off the bat.
Absolutely.
And you're skipping a step, right? You're just saving a step.
Absolutely.
So everything is changing. Everything is changing.
Yeah. So, it makes it exciting to be in dentistry. It really does.
That's cool, man. What do you hate about it? What do you hate about your job? What is like your pet peeve?
Fillings.
Fillings, really?
Yeah. I don't like doing fillings. I really don't. It's funny. I was like, you're going through dental school, like your bread and butter is you got to do like a class 2 filling to pass your boards just to get licensed. It's like so important. I dislike fillings. I really do. I'd rather prep 28 teeth and provisionalize final impressions, everything. I'd rather do that in a heartbeat than I would to do fillings. I don't know why. That's the least favorite part of my job. If I never do another filling the rest of my life, I'll be very, very happy.
That's all right.
Earlier, we're talking about, productivity, efficiency. There was one question I wanted to ask you about the future of DSOs. What do you think, like post COVID-19 now, do you think that the DSOs are going to keep growing on the same growth rate? And what is going to be the effect on the dentists, the patients?
Yeah. Listen, I think prior to COVID-19, the DSOs were in the midst of a pretty exciting time in their business cycle. The dental service organizations today have gotten to a point, and not all of them, but the bigger ones have gotten to a point where they are able to accomplish so much through scale, so much through efficiency and synergies that can actually change how things in dentistry occur. Like, how do we treat patients? Well, if I implement something at Aspen, in terms of, let's just take implants and say guided surgery, right? All implants are placed in guided surgery. We're talking about thousands of patients who are getting the most predictable ways to put implants in now, because we're implementing this protocol or process across an organization. So the reality is, this dental service organizations, they didn't have this ability 10, 15, 20 years ago, because they were just nation and growing in the marketplace. But they're finally getting to that point where they can do this, and it really affects and changes how the entire industry can think and act. I think with COVID-19, I think you're going to see that, unfortunately, some DSO organizations aren't going to survive because they're, not because of the dentistry and what they're able to provide patients, but more from an operational or business standpoint, right? What's that?
Or management or
I think management, business decisions, the amount, how they structured their company with, things like debt and versus, basically being able to survive this kind of perfect storm and be sustainable. But there are a lot of really good DSOs out there, like Aspen, that have really structured their entire business model around really sound principles. And what that does is it allows them to come out of this really in a position to be lean, to be able to focus on how do we treat this entire patient population who now need certain things. Like, think about where we are today. People haven't been able to go to a dentist in months, right? You need emergent care. You need the ability to see people and offer them convenience of same day appointment or same day results because of the business model that you have. Like, if I need to do, 10 emergency, let's call it dentures, okay, for patients who have terminal dentitions, if I've got Dimitri sitting right next to me and we can sit there and, make dentures and, mill them or print them or do whatever we need to do, just process them and get them done because we're together, that's a lot more efficient model than me saying, okay, I'm going to send it to a lab that's, in a different state, and then it's going to come back and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So there's the ability of DSOs that are positioned right, I think, to really help these patients that right now have been just kind of, their dental health has been on pause, right? There's just been a big issue with that. I think dental service organizations are going to continue to grow. And I think that on top of continuing to grow, you're going to see that the model that they focus on is going to be, it's going to be a lot different than what a lot of people think. I mean, the amount of investment that, companies like Aspen are making in bettering their clinicians, in implementing best practices and implementing technology and innovation, the things that I told you that I'm so passionate about. It's really been it's amazing to watch, and I think that that's what's needed when you're in the capacity and you have the ability to treat hundreds of thousands of people at a time. I think it becomes empowering when you're looking at, all right, how do we do this with the best practices that are out there? And that takes investment, that takes effort on the part of the company to be able to believe in doing that and bettering their doctors through continuing education, through implementing and acquiring technologies and processes and protocols that make that feasible and make patient care more predictable. I mean, patients today can really benefit, especially in this kind of COVID crazy world that we live in today.
Mm.
So I think DSOs are gonna, there's gonna be kind of, I think, cream rises, and so the good ones will continue to thrive. They'll continue to innovate. They'll continue to offer patients a very, very good outcome and patient experience, and they will continue to grow and gain market share. And I think some of the other ones may not make it.
Mm.
Do you think that some of the solo practices that have been heavily impacted during COVID-19 and that will maybe close their doors, they'll be moving on to a more simpler model, which is just
I mean, I think
and not having to deal with all this business
administrative.
Well, I mean, I think there'll be some of that. Obviously, look, one of the biggest advantages of DSOs has always been that you don't have to deal with the management, the economic side of the HR side, or whatever you want to call it. I think that will be appealing to some people. I think that because of where the DSO market has grown today, the reality is, in the DSO ecosystem today, we can have opportunities for clinicians, young clinicians, older clinicians that want to maybe step out of private practice. There's opportunities today that didn't exist, 10 or 15 years ago. I look at what we're doing at Aspen in terms of the innovation, in terms of the investments we're making, in terms of the education we're offering. And, being new to the DSO world, I got to say, it's amazing to me. Like when I was graduating, we don't have to say how many years ago, but, let's say well over a decade ago, when I was graduating and coming out into the marketplace, I didn't have that opportunity to go into an ecosystem, an environment that had clear paths for me to grow and develop. Hey, if I want to, get into aligner therapy, I've got this clear path, and I've got the education, I've got the support, I've got the technology, I've got the resources behind me so that I can better myself and get to that point. If I want to go into implant dentistry, same thing. Those weren't readily available. There wasn't companies out there that were being able to do all of that. And so, look, the reality is, I think today there's some pretty amazing things that the DSOs are doing that, make it a very compelling opportunity for everybody in dentistry, whether you're young, you're coming out of dental school, whether you're a little bit older and you want to maybe take a step back from some of the peripheral, let's call it the peripheral nuances of private practice. You have the ability to do that really, really well in one ecosystem.
So
guys, hold on. I'm sorry.
The little one.
Give me 1 second.
30 minutes is up.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sure this is going to get into the interview. All right. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, guys.
Don't worry, we can end it part of it. Don't worry about it.
Next time we should offer play dates.
Play dates.
I know, we can have the kids playing while we're doing our dental talk. It would be
hours and vice versa.
Look, that's the new business model. right? That's our hybrid dental education model. Get the kids playing remotely, we play remotely.
Virtual daycare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. But no, I mean, listen, getting back to the point, I think when you look at the DSO model today, the ones that care about the patients, that invest in their doctors, that do their very best to use their enormous benefits to enhance the experience in the ecosystem, they're going to succeed and they're going to do very, very well. I mean,
let me ask you though, how do you think, I mean, obviously, you know, especially post COVID-19, as you're saying, if you could do the denture right there and then, if you can do the crown right there and then, you're better serving, I guess, your patient in one way. You're better serving them, doing it like that way. Do you think that is really a mentality that will maybe take on more importance, especially for DSOs? Do you think they'll start investing more in these in-house systems or in in-house?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are. I mean, listen, I can only speak for, you know, the DSOs in terms of what I know. So, you know, in the Aspen ecosystem, yeah, they started down that path a long time ago. As you know, you're aware of, you know, we have a lot of dental technicians that are part of our ecosystem because it makes a lot of sense. I got to be honest, and you know, it's good for our friendly conversation, but maybe, you know, it's could be something we could have a difference of opinion on. But I don't think that the conventional dental laboratory as we know it today will exist in 10 years. I just don't think that it's going to happen. We have too much automation coming into dentistry. There's too many benefits of bringing manufacturing in some form or fashion into the office or on site. There's too much convenience, too much synergies, too much cost effectiveness. Not to have your own technician in every office, but automation, right? That I think that technology is going to change what the dental technology world looks like. I think you're going to have labs that cater to more complex situations. I think that, you know, some of the basic things that we do in dentistry will be completely automated, single crowns.
I mean, that's already the case, right?
No, but I think not 15-20% of the population. And I think 99% of the population will be at a point where things like single crowns, things like occlusal guards or nighttime appliances, aligner therapies, dentures, partials, inlays, onlays. I think all of that will come to a point where the basics will come in-house. I think some of your more complex or your more demanding manufacturing cases, you'll still need the services of a dental technologist or a dental lab. But to be honest with you, I think that it will be, you know, a model where you'd have your lab that would handle some manufacturing, but more of it will be in the service side of things, where you've got, instead of, let's call it 20 technicians in one building, you know, manufacturing stuff, you're going to have 20 technicians spread out across a state or a region, and they're going to be regional resources. So when I need something like custom shading, when I need some artistic nuances that we can't really automate at this point,
you can now
to do. Well, yeah, to some extent you can, right? But you know what I mean? Like when I really need something,
no, but I get what you're saying,
exceptional.
Yeah.
I'm going to call Dimitri. Dimitri's going to say, okay, so, you know, technician Y, he's, you know, he handles Orlando. He's your guy. He'll come in. He'll help you do that really hard case. And you're going to have these 20 technicians that are more service oriented than they are manufacturers. And I think that's going to be the big difference. I'm not saying that, you know, technicians are going to go away. We're always going to need technicians.
Oh, look, and I think you're speaking mostly also for DSOs, because I think it goes hand in hand with education. I mean, somebody opening their private practice that has to deal with managing the place, with running with his own patient, his or her own patients, you know, acquiring the technology, it goes hand in hand with education. There's only so much time also to learn how these things work and put them into practice.
Yeah, so
you can't do everything at the same time. Some people don't want to.
Sure. But I mean, to that extent, you also got to remember, like at some point, you know, I mean, I don't know, that's why it's not going to be now. Even though the technology is a lot of that technology is here today, it's not going to be now. It's going to be in 10 years, maybe. They're going to be taught all this in dental school. Like in dental school, there's going to come a point where you learn everything on some virtual simulator, VR, augmented reality, where you're cutting teeth on that simulator before you get to live patients. You're going to be designing your restorations. You're not going to be setting teeth. You're not going to be doing wax ups.
Yeah,
You're
things
going to
are
be sitting in front of a
definitely.
computer screen, right? And you're going to be doing everything there. So you're going to, the younger generation or the next generation, they're going to live in this world where they come out and like, they know to start a practice, you're going to need CBCT, you're going to need some sort of CAD/CAM system, some sort of intraoral scanner. I mean, these are going to be, these are going to be basics for us. No different than us buying, a handpiece or buying, a pair of loops. Like it's just going to be part of doing business on day one. And I think that's going to come, that's a conversation I think is really just a manufacturing conversation.
Yeah, we should have that on another show.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, look, bottom line, I think that the lab of the future is going to be one that's service oriented, like I said, and it's going to be design and diagnostic in nature. I think that there'll come a point where you will, I see a very viable model today for a dental lab that does nothing but design, right? And I know they're already out there. They exist. All they do is design, and they design and they, send out for manufacturing back to whoever the local customer is, whether it's another lab, whether it's a clinician. The difference, I think, in the future is going to be not only will you be oriented towards design and helping with diagnostic criteria and design of the end therapy, but I also think that there's going to be a service component where there's still going to need to be some of that people-to-people interaction with your dental technician. So I think that hybrid model where you're designing in the main center, right? And then you've got this local reach where I can have that local one-on-one conversation, and where, to your point, it's not just the DSOs, but in all of in the industry where technicians are an educational resource to help clinicians. I think that that's going to be a model that'll be very successful in the technician world, in years to come. I mean, we're not there yet. We still got guys that are casting PFMs, for God's sakes, right? At the end of the day, right? We've got a lot of years before that happens. Probably you and I will not be working. We'll be, sitting on a beach somewhere with an umbrella drink in our hand. But the reality is, I think that technology is going to evolve dentistry to that point.
Absolutely. Look, materials evolve, technology evolves, techniques evolve, everything evolves. And I truly believe that technicians, a lot of technicians are worried that they won't have a job. It's just the job will change.
The job will change.
The job will change. The job will change. And I will tell you this: the technicians or the dental labs that have a very assembly line mentality. So if you work in a dental lab and you only know how to pour models, I'd be worried for your job in 10 years, right? Like at the end of the day, I think when you're in a lab environment where you are growing, developing, you're picking up skills across multiple therapeutic modalities, you get to be skilled in either CAD/CAM design, ceramics, you know how to do printing and milling, you understand acrylic work. And, I think that there's going to be a need and there'll always be a demand for, educated, quality, skilled technicians. But by the same token, the same thing will happen to dentists in general. Like, God, we're using a robot to place implants now. At some point, there's going to be automation across a lot of what we do in the industry.
I truly always believe that it's a combination of analog and digital. So the analog being the technician and the digital being our tools that have changed to be 100% digital. So it's always been the combination. I don't believe that it will be 100% the one nor 100% the other.
I agree with that. It's just going to look different,
In the next few years, I think, dentists still really, really need us because you are very
certainly
capable. You know a lot about technology. You're very innovative, but on a day-to-day basis, we do a lot of hand holding.
I couldn't agree more. But to my point, what you're doing is you're offering a service.
Yeah.
That service is knowledge. That service is not manufacturing, right? No. You could do the same thing of hand holding and then send them a design file and they could hit the go button on their mill and make it, right? And so you're already innovating and you're already examples of what the technological side of dentistry is evolving towards, which is a service industry that imparts wisdom, knowledge, and support
Exactly.
Not so much, picking up the wax and carving the tooth,
Yeah.
right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we agree on that.
It's always been a service industry. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
otherwise
I think
Otherwise, that's
there's
it.
not much
Yeah.
value.
No.
We could be replaced by a machine if we don't add value.
Look, if honestly though, the other thing that I want to make a point on this to say, and this is going to be a fun episode, to have an episode solely on this. I'm telling you, you're re-invited.
I'd love to do it.
So I don't think, like, if the lab gives you 100% the same thing as what comes out of the machine, then they're not doing their job. There has to be a little bit of a difference between the two.
Sure. So again, there's always going to be that 10% that's going to differentiate lab over here from lab over there. That 10% is going to be in two departments, okay? One is in knowledge and diagnosis, design, treatment planning, service, all of that stuff. And then the other side is going to be that extra 10% of artistic hand benefit to the manufactured product, right? Call it the hand stitching in your Ferrari, right? At the end of the day, some of it is going to be done by hand because that brings out the exceptional quality of the product. I agree completely with you on that. But remember, you can do 1,000 crowns and put 10% into those 1,000 crowns, and it'll take you less time than if you were doing 100 crowns from start to finish by hand.
I know, but
right?
it's also about passion,
No, listen, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. Listen,
It's also
I'm not going to go to the store and pick up a Dimitri in the box. I'm not picking up a Dimitri in the box and turning them on and having them make crowns for me. That's not going to happen. But I think that the nature of the industries for dental technicians is going to change dramatically. I mean, look, it's no
changed,
different,
man. It's already changed,
and it's no different than other industries, right? I always get a kick out of Trump talking about, not to bring up politics, but Trump talking about all these jobs that we've lost to other countries and other workforces around the world. And look, no matter what anybody says, the number one job killer we have in this country is technology and automation, right? Because we can take a machine and automate an assembly line and make Fords all day long with 10 people controlling it compared to thousands of people on the assembly line building it by hand, right?
That's why they have a lot of problems, though.
Well, look.
Sundeep, did I show you that printed crown in Chicago?
I think you did. And look, that's amazing, right?
Well, that's going to be a game changer. It's clearly not there yet, but
I think what you're doing, look, it's not going to change what we're just talking about because we can do that with a CAD/CAM milled restoration today, everything we just talked about. The difference is additive manufacturing is going to make it so economically viable for dentists that what you said, that barrier to adopting it and stuff, is going to go away, right? If I have to buy $100,000 mill and I've got to, hit a button and it's $20 a unit for me to mill or $12 a unit for me to mill, that's one thing. When I can buy a $15,000 printer and it costs me 80 cents to make a crown, right? Then it automatically becomes economically way more incentivized for me to adopt that kind of technology in the practice. So additive manufacturing is going to change all of this. Like,
I think so too.
We're looking at innovations in removable therapies within Aspen, and really looking at what's that next innovation. And what I love about the company is we're not waiting 5, 7, 10 years for the industry or the profession to adopt it. We're at the forefront. We're looking at, hey, what's out there? What's the newest, latest, and greatest? And how can we innovate and better our patient care because of it, and offer our patients a better product, save them time, save them money, all these things. And, when you look at what's out there with denture therapy today, there's no doubt. Don't get me wrong. A CAD/CAM today, I think a CAD/CAM milled denture is a better product than a printed denture in terms of long-term viability. Let's call it, okay? Whatever you want to say. Color, stability, wear, all these things, okay? Long-term
density.
Yeah, just long-term in the mouth. CAD/CAM products are still more viable than printed products.
I gave a presentation recently, and I was actually talking about the different types of acrylics and printed versus milled exactly on dentures, right?
Yeah.
So the flexural strength of a printed acrylic varies between 19 0.5 to about 91 megapascals of flexural strength. So 19, right?
Yep.
That's ridiculously low.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Milled starts at 122.
Yeah, right. And so, I mean, no, there's no question about it today. But in that same vein, the economics of printing blow milling out of the water.
Absolutely.
100%. Like today, like you can't, if you just looked at the numbers, you would say, I would never mill anything ever again. All I would do is print, because the numbers today are so incentivized economically. So where are we going? Well, we're going to where the product itself is going to get to, you know, the technology, the science of printing will get to the point, probably not from a manufacturing standpoint, because we're pretty much there, but from a resin or material science standpoint, we're going to get to a point where these are, you know, comparable to milled products.
And I mean, they already started printing zirconia. They're printing PEEK. They're
printing gold. They're printing gold now, right? So like at the end, you know, look, at the end of the day, the reality is, I think that when that, you know, we're in the midst of that kind of tsunami, especially in removable technology today. I mean, there's such really, really, really good innovations in printed dentures and printed removable therapies today that we didn't even have 2 years ago, right? We didn't even have it 5 years ago. We didn't have it 2 years ago. Today we have it. You know, what is the next 2 years going to look like? I think that you're going to see, you know, this case of being able to manufacture in office is going to become very, very compelling for anyone. It doesn't matter if you're a DSO. It doesn't matter if you're a solo private practitioner. You know, I would have told you 2 years ago, I would have told you that if you really want to bring your lab technology into your office, go buy a mill. And, you know, if you get the right kind of mill, you'd probably be set for the next 10 years. I could tell you today that you go buy a mill, but you're probably going to switch to printing in the next 5 years. Right? I mean,
I don't know about that, Sandeep. I don't know. I think they complement each other a lot.
We'll see.
As it stands.
Well,
in the future,
where were we 5 years ago with printing?
Honestly, not. I mean, the only thing that has evolved is the affordability of a printer.
But that's hardware. I'm talking about materials.
Materials have not evolved that much, at least not in Canada, right? In the US, yes, okay, you have certain PMMAs that have come out, certain hybrid ceramics, but it's not been very, I mean, they fail a lot, honestly, because of, again, the density and the strength of the actual.
Sure. But look, we're creating innovative ways to do the additive manufacturing, so different types of additive manufacturing.
They're faster. That's evolved a lot. I mean, something that would take 8 hours will take half an hour.
Sure. The economics of it has come down.
But materials has a long way to go still. I truly believe that.
Sure. But, you know, at some point, when is the argument that, okay, so you get a printed denture, and who cares if the milled one lasts 10 years and the printed one lasts 2? Who cares if you can just reprint a new denture every 2 years and it costs you cents versus, you know, $20, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And economically, absolutely right. But aesthetically, the materials are, I mean,
I agree. I don't think we're there yet.
3-4 colors of PMMAs.
I'm not throwing a dagger through the knife of CAD/CAM systems everywhere. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that how we're evolving, and it's kind of it goes back to the greater overarching, thought that I had. I think that we are evolving in dentistry so quickly, so rapidly. We're in this midst of this technological revolution, renaissance, really. It's just a renaissance where all these things are happening. And, you know, you and I, we're looking at this, you know, this kind of vertical of implants and milling and CAD/CAM and printing and all this stuff that the worlds we live in. But don't forget, there's all these other things in dentistry, whether it's, you know, orthodontics and alignment.
Well, there isn't. It's just about implants,
medicine, right?
Full mouth restoration.
Yeah, right. It's only crowns and bridges, zirconia and titanium. But there's so many other facets to dentistry that are evolving along with this kind of renaissance in technology. That, I mean, I got to be honest. Like, I think dentistry as a whole, whether it's the clinical aspect as a clinician, whether it's the teams, whether it's the technicians, it'll look a lot different in 5 to 10 years. It really is. And it's
absolutely,
exciting.
man.
You know, it's exciting to be a part of it.
Anyways, listen, this can go on. I know, knowing us, this can go on a long time. So
whole
I think the
night.
best thing to do is just
Sure.
end it now, and maybe make another another special presentation where we can
I would love that.
discuss and
Anytime you guys
argue
want.
and the whole thing, which is great fun.
Any time you want to talk about why Dimitri should just go back to dental school because in 10 years he won't have a job, I'm happy to have that conversation anytime.
Yeah. That's all right. Doesn't matter. It's okay.
Listen, hey, thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I get passionate about talking about this stuff, and I'm really happy to have that conversation with you guys. So
Us too. That's what we want. I mean, these are things that people think about, and not everybody voices them. And the whole point is just to get everybody's perspective. And
sure.
That's.
Well, I think it's great what you guys are doing, and just keep it up. Thank you guys very much. Be safe, be healthy,
be safe as well.
Up there.
Don't work too hard.
I'm trying my level best not to, but
we'll see you soon once the borders open.
Yeah, please stay safe up there, and we'll see you back here in sunny Florida. Okay.
All right. Take care. Huh?
Take care. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today, and we hope that you'll be with us on our next episode. This recording is available on YouTube and also uploaded as a podcast on iTunes. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to our show. If you wish, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook with the handle @Styledent Lab. For questions, comments, or suggestions about the show, please visit styledent.com/talks, where you will also find the show notes and links to the subject we talked about today. Members of the dental community, we thank you, and we hope to see you next time on Styledent Talks.